Hello. Welcome back. Thank you for tuning in to the Rhythmic Resonance Podcast. This is your host, TR, and this week I sat down with DavidDallaG and Surebert. This duo is easily one of my favorite producer-artist groups that I've come across so far in my search of Montana music, and their history in the scene speaks for itself. The combination of Surebert's smooth, self-dubbed, happy beats and David's upbeat and positive lyrics make for some beautiful music and uplifting energy anytime you hear them. From meeting each other by chance through a mutual friend, to later opening, touring, and working with acts such as Sweatshop Union, Murs, Atmosphere, Brother Ali, and many more underground legends, both DavidDallaG and Surebert have etched themselves in Montana hip-hop history. It was a blessing to talk with them, and I appreciate their willingness to sit down and shed light on their achievements, knowledge, and experiences throughout their careers, and I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I did talking with them. But before I say too much, here's DavidDallaG and Surebert on the Rhythmic Resonance Podcast, episode number 15 at Area 41 Collective. So, where are you guys from?
You go first.
Yeah, I'll go first. I actually grew up about 10 minutes away from where we're recording right now in Southwest Portland, and then moved out to Montana where we met.
Sweet.
And I'm from east side of Portland, also known as Clackamas, kind of Gresham area, and moved out to Montana back and forth through my childhood and lived in Bozeman for most of my youth, and then moved back here in 2015. So I consider myself a dual citizen of Portland and Bozeman.
For sure. What was it kind of like there? You know, I've been to Portland maybe like once or twice, but I've never lived there. So like maybe talk a little bit about how life was there growing up.
I don't know about you for you, Bert, but like growing up in Portland is I had like the stereotypical, like it was great to grow up in the 90s childhood where it's like, I just looking like at the current world we live in, I was outdoors all the time. There's like no screens and like cartoons like limited, but I like grew up next to the woods. So I was like in the woods with my friends all the time until I was like, in middle of elementary school. Pine cone wars, throwing pine cones at people and stuff, building forts, stuff like that. Yeah. I don't know. It was fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a thing that a lot of Portland people share as well, is that like the 90s were the like peak Portland era. So just the city itself was really cool, even though I was born in 1990, so I was pretty young out here. It was still cool getting that city feel. On the east side, we kind of you can ride the Max into town and go to the Blazer game, go downtown. And so I got that taste of the city. And then when I moved to Montana, I honestly prided myself in being from Portland because it was something that I really loved and kind of honestly, 100%. I think longed for. Yeah. So, yeah, I always was a Blazers fan. I always was into the Portland hip-hop and stuff, and kind of put my friends onto the Portland hip-hop things because it was just I just had pride in the city, and I still do. But there's just something about it where, people that do live here and fall in love with the city, it's really hard to kind of detach from that.
For sure.
And it's funny when he talks about like the Blazers. We grew up in such a peak era of like when I was in the 5th grade, that was when they brought in Scottie Pippen, and we like went to the Western Conference Finals against the Lakers, like before they had three-peated. I actually rewatched that game the other day. It was just like, it's so brutal that 4th quarter. But we were so good, and like there was so much pride in the city around, like even just things like the Blazers. Yeah, it was a great time to grow up here. I loved it.
Yeah, just like pride in the culture, of what you guys
100%.
Really into.
And I am not that big of, I mean, not that, I am a big Blazers fan. I don't know much about like the details. Like, half of that was kind of over my head. I know that the Blazers were killing it. I know that Pippen was there in the 90s, but yeah, so I'm only base level with that stuff. But I love the Blazers to death, through the highs and the lows.
For sure. Always you have to.
Yeah.
So like growing up, you guys I know Bert kind of mentioned a little bit like the hip hop culture and loving that. Like what were you guys' influences growing up? What did you guys listen to? What did you really like fall in love with?
I mean, I think my gateway into hip hop stuff honestly was like parody music, surprisingly, like Weird Al and things like that. I think that was my first kind of like ease into things. I think I was too young to kind of like actually understand gangster rap and things like that. But then as I got older, there was things like when Just Blaze production was out there, like that was the first thing I really got into, like beats, and was like, these beats are crazy. And so that's kind of the era that I really got into actually being interested in it beyond just like party music or whatever my friends are listening to, or so yeah, then I started really diving deeper into underground stuff like Deltron 3030 and People Under the Stairs throughout like high school. So those were kind of my influences throughout my younger years, I guess, in a nutshell.
Sure.
Yeah, and it's funny because we've always kind of been this way, because when we were working together so much, like at the beginning, even though we're into a lot of the same stuff, we would show each other a lot of stuff that we weren't too privy on. I kind of started my intro to hip hop was definitely like Coolio, like Gangster's Paradise was like my intro to the music. I just like instantly fell in love, but then like kind of quickly after that found Tupac, and I was like a huge Tupac, very like West Coast. I got very involved in the beef. I took it personal, I think. No, really liked that though, and then actually, as much as I like love Portland, Seattle hip hop actually had a bigger kind of influence on me. I really fell in love with this group called the Blue Scholars. That they put out like 3 albums and a couple EPs. Still probably my favorite groups. They really influenced me. They would kind of talk about world issues and like issues prevalent in the Northwest. And looking back on that, I just feel like the lyricism of that kind of got me into that, because I was always like a kid writing, but that kind of gave me a direction. And then like Macklemore and Common Market, there was a couple other groups that like I watched come up and that influenced me too. It was a cool time.
Yeah. And I did skip over kind of the Portland stuff that influenced me, and that would be for a large part Sand People, the super group Sand People, which is like Sapient, Immaculate, Ethic, IME, Only One. Like there's so many good people in that group, and I was just hooked on like all their projects. This was around the blog era too, so I could just download so many things off of blogs, and a lot of their stuff they were just putting out for free. Like Sapient, a lot of his stuff he was putting out remix albums for free and things like that. So just consuming all of that as much as possible. And then at the same time, there was this one specific blog called like Hip Hop Addicts with 3 X's .blogspot or whatever, and they just had every type of old school East Coast hip hop album you could think of, like Diamond D and Black Moon and all this stuff. And it was harder for me to kind of learn about those things when I didn't have anyone around me that was interested in it. So I would just go through this blog and download everything and just listen to these albums and then pick songs I like. And then I later find out, oh yeah, those are very inspirational albums in the East Coast, are very influential albums. And I just didn't know the difference from one to the other. And that's kind of how I learned a lot of that stuff as well.
That's so badass. That's awesome.
Shout out Morpheus and Kazaa too, who just like introduced me to like Immortal Technique and like Afro Man, and like I used to just download so much music illegally. Statute of limitations is over, I think. I used to just get all this stuff and like make random mixes and stuff would just kind of like That was the real gateway to like a lot of music. I remember when the 8 Mile like movie trailer dropped and I was in a theater and I heard like the Lose Yourself song in the trailer. I like went home and like 100 people had put like Lose Yourself official full track, and like I downloaded like 30 of them, and they were all just the trailer looped. And I was like looking for the actual song and like,
Man.
yeah, good times. Yeah.
What a time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and what kind of like drew you guys to hip hop? You know, I know you briefly kind of mentioned like current events and whatnot, like what was happening in the world and the culture, but like what really like kind of drew you into loving hip hop versus maybe a different genre?
Oh man, for me the answer is really obvious. I mean, when I was, not to get depressing, but when I was 3 years old, my father passed away, and then I like started listening to Tupac when I was like maybe 8 years old, and he's got like this song called "Dear Mama," and there's just like a lot of other songs too. I mean, it sucks to bring up Diddy, but he had that song "I'll Be Missing You" too about Big. And like just the way we're rapping about someone who'd passed, basically, you know. But it was like really expressing in a way of like, oh, these people lost people, or these people had to grow up without a father, you know, like in the instant of Tupac. Like, and it just kind of showed me that you could be okay or express it and like understand that other people had gone through it. And taking like that feeling and like trying to write your own rhymes was super influential to me. So that's where I kind of got the love and wanted to be a part of it. Still, yeah,
For sure. That's great.
Yeah, I would say, you know, I always was very interested in the music just from a discovery standpoint. Again, like LimeWire and stuff, just finding things that my friends hadn't. And I always thought I had a good ear for music, just finding the right things. And I think that comes in handy as far as making beats and whatnot. But once I started DJing, I got my first like vinyl set up when I was a senior in high school, and I was just DJing house parties with vinyl. And I would go to Cactus Records in Bozeman because it was the only record store there besides like Vargo's Books, which is all like jazz records. So I'd go there, go to their hip hop section. It's just like not too big of a section, but they killed it with the curation. They always had great underground stuff. They always had some like random popular things that I would grab too, but I'd always get, you know, the Dell the Funky Homo Sapien and the MF Doom things, and really got to do a lot of kind of old school digging there, where I'm like not really sure what these things are, but I'm buying it because of the cover and because there's only so many hip hop records to buy here, so might as well buy these to build my collection and find out if they're good or not. So I did a lot of that and just played records at people's houses and stuff. And once I got into honestly, I think People Under the Stairs was the big group that made me feel like I wanted to make these beats, like I wanted to make this type of music. I wasn't as much of a spectator as maybe like a part of it. So, you know, I started making beats in high school and things like that alongside while DJing. And from there, kind of just got way more influenced by production than DJing. I just didn't have the skills to pay the bills with the DJing, and also just wasn't inspired in that same way, you know, the technicality of it and things. I just wanted to make the music. So I would say, you know, once I started DJing, that's when I started really falling in love with it and getting a deeper appreciation. And that's why I wanted to start making it, was because I loved it so much. I wanted to like be a creator of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Be a part of that like experience, you know, and the creation aspect of it even, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's beautiful, you guys. Thank you for sharing.
of course, yeah.
So kind of moving forward a little bit in time, you know, you've found this love for something, you're passionate about it. When did you kind of decide that you wanted to be more a part of it and a part of like maybe the scene, like maybe moving to Bozeman, and doing that? Because from what I know, there's been quite the prolific run from you two at a certain point in time. And if you want to just talk about that a little bit and how that kind of all came to be.
Yeah, I'll talk about it because I was in Bozeman before Dave was, I guess.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Dave came out there for college, and I was already I'd like gone to high school there and stuff. So I was making hip hop with like my friend Darian, who unfortunately has passed away since, but he was one of the first rappers I ever met that like rapped on my beats.
He was cold too. I've
So
heard some of
good.
their tracks.
So
he was good.
I mean, you've heard him. You've heard like the stuff he did with like Hemingway and stuff. Letter.
Yes.
Letter,
Yeah.
yeah.
So Darian and I went to high school together, and we made like a couple songs together and things like that. And I was like, oh shit, I can make music with people I know. And some of my other friends were making goofy ass raps and stuff, but I just, he had actual skill and was serious about it. And then, once I was in college, I was DJing at bars and things like that, just trying to make money off of that. My goal was to just live off of music so I could make beats and whatnot, and then DJ downtown in downtown Bozeman and do like the bar gigs and just live off of that. So that was kind of like my hope. And with that is when I met Dave, because I got invited to be like a DJ. They're like, this rapper needs a DJ up in Big Sky. So I'll let Dave talk about like his introduction into like the music scene and whatnot.
Yeah. So like I said earlier, like I'd always been writing a little bit and, a little bit. I used to like fill up notebooks and stuff, but it was never like full songs, or I never had beats. Like I had made a couple songs in high school, but they were like very like I made one song and then it would stop for a long time and then I'd do other stuff. I actually wanted to be a film major. And so I went to Montana State and was part of the film program. I graduated from that. And while I was there, my senior year, I showed a song I made to like one of my friends, and they were like, oh, this is really dope. Like you should perform this somewhere. And I needed to get some credits. And I was like, you know what? I've always wanted to like make a project. If I like put this as a class, like I can make it happen. And I put together this like super short EP. It's terrible. I think I've taken it offline. But like,
is that This One's on Me?
This one's on me. Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah. Real ones know. So I made that as like to get credit. And while I was doing it, I was like, I should perform this. And like, I just kind of started meeting rappers in Bozeman. I met this rapper, Gentleman Script, who also sadly has passed away. Man. Yeah. So many. But he kind of put me on a first show, and this is before we had met. And all of a sudden, like, I always loved performing too. I was like, when I was, being a film major, I liked directing and I liked writing, but I was definitely an actor too. Like that was probably the main thing. And I just natural presence on stage. Like, I don't want to be like, I was the best performer ever, but like, I thought I was good at it, and when I started performing these shows, I had this DJ, his name is John Paris, who's such a cool dude, but like, he was much older than me, like different music. And like, we were, I would say we're friends, but like, it's not like he was like, oh, David's really tight. It was more like, hey, I'm here DJing for everybody. I'll DJ for you too. And then I got a gig in Big Sky, which he was kind of talking about, but he couldn't go. And did he connect it? Was it John?
Yeah, John was my neighbor. He was also a friend and fellow DJ as well. I think we chopped it up sometimes just about DJ stuff, and he actually came over. I feel like he might have knocked on my door. I might be like romanticizing the situation, but I feel like he came over and just knocked on the door and was like, "Yo, looking for a DJ for this show in Big Sky. This guy's a rapper and he needs a DJ." I'd never DJ'd for a rapper before.
So Bert and I literally met like in a car driving up to this show. Like we had never kicked it.
We had a mutual friend, actually, Katie Ritter, who was I was in science class with both Katie Ritter and Darian and Letter, so actually a small little connection
and then
there.
Katie went to college and was part of the film program, and at that point, Katie and I were really good friends. At that point, later it might have developed. I don't know, but
But she drove us, or she came with us.
She came with, and so did Juan.
Juan, yeah, Juan drove us up.
So the four of us just drove up to Big Sky, and I remember being really impressed with Bert. Like John just had like this little like controller thing that I think like you could probably buy on like Amazon or like at like Best Buy for like $100 or something like that. But Bert had like these techniques.
The techniques.
Yeah, he had two of them and like a full mixer and everything. And like I was just like kind of like, oh man, this is serious business. And then me and Bert just connected. Like he like like it's not like we'd ever performed together or anything, but like the set went really smooth. And I remember at the time just kind of being like, oh, this dude should definitely DJ instead of John, because one, he was closer in age to me, and we like, I always felt like the package of us, like it looked like, oh, those dudes are friends and they look like a good time. Where me and John looked like, it was like, oh, that guy needs a DJ and that guy's really nice. That's what it kind of seemed like.
I just learned that we became friends because of image.
It was all image. Yeah. I didn't know him.
This guy's the yin to my yang.
Yeah. No, but
an obvious cohesive, like grouping.
Yeah, and even on the drive up, I'm sure, like, because we talked about, I'm sure we were like, oh, we're both from Portland. It's like, oh, you know Sand People? I know Sand People. I'd literally met no one else in my life that knew who Sand People were.
Right.
So it's just like, what? You know who they are? And you're from Portland and you like the Blazers? That's so cool. So that was just a instant connection.
It wasn't just image. We definitely connected and the friendship blossomed.
Thank you.
But I mean, in terms of like, when I had probably performed like 5 shows or something like that, and I was like, oh, this is much better. This is really cool. So when I'm thinking of like, am I going to continue to perform or whatever, I was like, this is like the obvious choice. And then we would just hang out, and then all of a sudden,
wait, are we moving past that show? I appreciate you saying that I did a good job, but do you not remember me mixing your beats into the next beats? I was treating it like a DJ set, and I was mixing his beat.
Yeah.
I started like you know, there's still probably a good 30 seconds at the end of the song, and I'm like, ooh, this is gonna be dope. The BPM's the same, gonna just dip it and then drop it in while it's like both of his songs, and it's like, dude, this guy clearly has stuff figured out for each song. We're not gonna just cut him off, and I did mistakenly. So I learned. That was my first time DJing.
That's so funny.
With someone.
I totally forgot that. That's
okay.
That's great. Yeah. And I remember being like, yeah, let's not do that again. But so then we just ended up practicing and hanging out. And I don't even think like, I mean, Bert had probably said he made beats, but I didn't hear any of them. Like, I just knew he made beats. But I was like, I had a show opening for Murs. Like the ascension for us, the ascension happened really quickly. Like, it was basically like I played a couple shows and then I played the showcase. It was called the Chamberlain Showcase. And the guy who ran it was like super impressed with what we did. And he was like, oh, you want to open for Murs? And I was like, yeah, I want to open for Murs. And like totally shouldn't have probably done that. Like was not prepared. But
sometimes you got to just get thrown into the mix though.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and we were treated it really serious. So we like rehearsed and we practiced, and
I DJ'd for XV, the open, you know the rapper XV out of like the Midwest. You heard of him?
No.
He was kind of popping back then. He was signed to Warner Brothers at the time, and I remember he was on the phone because his song with Pusha T had like leaked. Remember that?
And he wasn't credited
upset.
right. They were upset because Pusha T wasn't credited.
Yeah.
XV had a song with Kendrick too at that time.
So he was opening, and I got to DJ for him. So like this is maybe my second or third time DJing for a rapper. I mean, I'm sure we played some small shows together, but like I got thrown in there heavy with that too. But
well. But I mean, just to kind of go back, so when we were rehearsing for those shows, though, I remember went over to his house and like Bert played some beats for me, and like again, I thought Bert was tight and I thought he was good at like DJing, like and I was like, this is gonna be a great fit. I didn't know he was like really musically talented. Like Bert from like the get go, like you could tell like, oh, this guy's making something special.
Yeah.
Like, and that was like a really cool moment because like I had heard other people make beats like when I was in high school or like just around town, or like you hear the beats that other rappers are doing. And I was like, this is stuff that's really good that we could like do something with. And I was like, we should work on a project. I had already been working on a full album at that time. And Bert, like the album was basically done. Like Bert didn't have a beat on that album, but like right when that album was done, we made a whole EP together. Now I'm jumping around a little bit, but
no, that's okay. That's okay.
The first beat you played for me was is Working at the Gap.
Yep.
Ended up being Working at the Gap, which was one of our songs, which is actually like if we were going to do like a show tonight, that song would definitely be on the set list and it would go hard because that song still goes. That song is just such a crowd pleaser. It's so funny. The references are all outdated, but it was just like people still love that song. Like it's still like when we play it live. I mean,
yeah, that was a blast playing that live. We had to beef up the beat recently for like 2023 or whatever, but We'll still play it. Yeah. Whenever we get a chance.
That's awesome.
But like, it was like this instant, like everything Bert makes, like my only beef with Bert was like, you're not making, I need more beats faster. These are like so tight. Like that was kind of the whole thing. But Bert was like so picky about samples. Like I will only sample the most obscure. And
Can't
like,
if it's on who sampled, I'm out.
Yeah,
Like, I was too strict on it sometimes.
Bert was, and it used to bug me. That was our whole creative process. I'd be like, dude, just make this. It'll be tight. He's like, no. And then I'm like, well, fine. Then there will be no songs, I guess. And that was like our whole thing. But anyway, so we played that show for Murs. Cracking, really good. I sent footage of it actually. It's in this music video called "Homecoming," of a song that was on an album or called "All Sides" much later. But
I've heard that project.
oh, cool, right on, man. Thanks. And Bert produced most of that. So like, after that, like we just kind of started crushing like shows, and I mean. Within like 2 years we were open for like Atmosphere, Brother Ali. We got a band. We started working together with a band, and like it was just like cracking.
Yeah, it was crazy because we didn't live together for a while, but we were spending so much time together to like make music any opportunity that we had. So like you recorded that first album at Peach Street, and I just went in and did some cuts on it, and that was it. And we hadn't done anything. But after that, I think we were recording at Mike B's all the time. We were always over at Mike B's place.
The show EP, yeah.
Yeah, we recorded all that.
Yeah.
And getting on shows and like offering to tour and drive people, like that was the big thing. Is like there's the whole tour circuit around Colorado and stuff. I know. Hopefully we're not. I know you just asked us about getting together, and now we're going.
Yeah.
So we'll.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But that was the other thing that really helped us kind of like take off was doing those tours and meeting other artists and then booking other shows and then getting in with other venues and then getting taken out to Idaho Falls just to play shows just because, and like, just random things like that where we just kept going and we were super into it. Like it was all we were doing. We were both still in school, but
no, we weren't in school anymore.
I dropped out probably at that point.
I had just graduated. We were both done with school, but it was like he was working at a place called Samurai Sam's, and I was working at the Poorhouse. Yeah, and I think the Poorhouse is still there too.
Yeah, two Bozeman institutions.
Yeah,
100%.
we were both working. So, but what was our niche kind of is I met a guy named Dale, and then we started playing shows in Idaho Falls. And then we were playing shows in Missoula just because we met this guy named Chase who was doing Royal Apparel.
Yeah, Royale Entertainment.
Yeah, no, Royal Apparel is a clothing company. Sorry. I sell blanket apparel now. But we had this like kind of circuit where it was like, oh, we can play Missoula, Bozeman, Big Sky, possibly, and then Idaho Falls. And we had this little triangle in Billings sometimes. And then Great Falls kind of got involved, or not Great Falls, Butte. So we had this like little triangle, and then all of a sudden like Sapient or Lucky I Am or
One
Below. Yeah, that was a big one. Would come through and just be like, oh, we want to do that circuit. And so we get to open with all these people. And then like in the case of One Below, like you get invited to further shows or it just kind of evolved from there. And then the Sape tour was like 25 shows, 23 shows, something like that. Yeah. I don't know. A lot of jumping around. And now it's funny looking back on this, like the timeline of when all this happened is really funny. I have no idea.
And it's all within like 3 or 4 years. So it's a lot. That's a lot.
I remember one time we were in the car and we were like, and I won't know the exact, but I was like calculating like all the shows we had done. And me and Bert had probably spent like 50,000 miles in the car together. Like
crazy.
Just constant trips to Missoula, to Idaho Falls, to Boise,
Salt Lake.
We played what was that outdoor retailer? We opened for we were gonna open for Black Alicious, and then Gift to Gab, another dude, rest in peace. He was like sick. We did end up opening for Gift to Gab later, but he was sick for that show, and we who did we play with?
Latif, the truth speaker.
Truth Speaker, yeah. And we played this cracking venue in downtown Salt Lake City. It was so fun. Yeah, I don't know, just lots of shows. And again, none of this stuff we should have been doing. Like, we should have probably been focusing on the quality of the record, like recording. Like, we were making good tracks, I thought, but like we probably should have been focusing on like making really fire songs,
Making more music.
Yeah, 100%.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I think that like even at that time, like the touring was a big deal because you just had to like get out of your space a little bit, you know, like you wanted to share with more people and like
Yep.
get out of where you had, I guess, started or met, you know, just branch out a little bit more.
Yeah, and I know that I guess it is a while ago because this is probably 12 years ago that we were touring, but like streaming wasn't a thing.
Right.
So people were selling CDs, and shows I think were popping off a little bit more, but like CDs were more of a like aware, you know, we would get CDs made to sell to people.
Yeah.
Because it was like relevant at the time. So there was that aspect too, where if we tour more, we can sell more CDs and things like that.
Exactly.
And some nights it would go crazy. I'll never forget, after we opened for Atmosphere and Big Sky, I sold 50 t-shirts at the side, and like, I don't know, probably like, you know, like 22 years old or something, like with like $700 in cash on me or something like that, being like, this is the greatest. Like just thinking like it would be like so tight. And then of course there's like shows where like no one is there and you're like, we're going to kill it for these 3 people, you know? And like, we definitely like all spectrums, and it would be so funny because like one night would be like really cracking, and then the next night would be like just completely dead. And like we just go back and forth between that.
And would you say that that's kind of like an accurate description of the scenes back then? Just kind of like some of them, sometimes it was popping, sometimes it wasn't, or was it like pretty consistent throughout those years?
I mean, if you like kind of like zoom in on what makes a show poppin', you know, maybe in Bozeman or something, it's not that hard. Like, but if you just kind of look at it from a hip hop perspective, you know, I'd go to a Daz Dillinger show at the Zebra, and there's 3 people there, and it's like, this guy's in the Dog Pound. This guy raps with Snoop Dogg. He's on the Doggy Style. Like, he's on the Chronic. You know, it's just, and there's no one there, but you know, the Zebra will pack out for Greaves or Brother Ali. Things like that. So it's just kind of, you know, at the time it was very, you know, what's going to pop off a show. So I think that's also kind of where we succeeded sometimes, is we weren't rapping like a lot of other people. I wasn't rapping at all, but we weren't making music like a lot of other people, where we weren't kind of making angrier type music or more serious, like not gangster type rap, I guess you could say. And that's why, you know, people saw us more akin to like the rhyme sayers, artists and stuff, because it's a little bit more raw and personal and upbeat, happy beats, you know, like
motivational, stuff like that.
I was very heavily inspired by like Atmosphere beats, like by Ant beats. So it's like, it makes sense, you know, I make these happy, joyful beats sometimes, and Dave can't help but write about some super happy, upbeat, positive thing on it because it's just fun and we're having fun. And then we go play these shows, and we play these upbeat, happy songs, and people enjoy them. So it's just like we kept doing that, and it was different than a lot of other people, I gotta say, for the time and for the scene.
I'll also say, like, the scene of Bozeman, it was like, I think it was so unique because it was such a small town, and it's not like Bozeman is today at all. Like, I go back there for work once a year, and it's just like always blows my mind. Like, I rented an apartment with like some friends for like $300, like close to downtown. Like, it's just insane. Like, you could get drunk at you could get wasted for $15. Like, like you could get wasted in downtown Bozeman, then walk back to your $300 apartment. Like, it was such a different time, but it was so small before it was like this big thing that it wasn't like just hip hop. Like, we were friends with like there were reggae bands, there were ska bands, there were rock bands, there were like,
yeah, that's another thing. If we wanted a successful show, it can't just be all hip hop.
Other
stuff. Yeah.
And honestly, I think our best shows were like shows we did with Cure for the Common, or shows we did with Landlocked, or shows we did with like Do It Kappa, Dub Sultan, yeah,
Scavocado.
Yeah, there were like all these bands that like had their own draw, and then we had a draw, and then like you bring the two groups together, and I think our music, what he was kind of talking about, the positive, like upbeat, like happy, like let's have a good time vibe, really fit with a lot of these bands.
Yeah. And in turn, we ended up kind of like taking some of these people from these bands and putting them in our band. So then, we'd play these shows and we'd only have to have one drummer because they're playing both sets, So things like that. Or just meet amazing, instrumentalists through that process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, but yeah, we'll sorry, I feel like we've been rambling for a while. We'll let you,
like this is what I want though.
Yeah.
I'm ignorant almost to like the time period and like how that was, for you guys, and even what the scene was like, and that's like I think a big thing that I want to focus on a little bit. So I'm not even worried about it.
No, it was really cool. It was really special. Like there wasn't an 18 plus venue. It was all 21 plus. So if you either playing the Zebra, you were playing the Filler, or you were doing open mic at the Hofbrau. That was like it.
Chamberlain shows were the only one. Like the
Chamberlain shows were the big
Jam.
shows. Yeah. And we just got to play all those just because Tate liked our vibe and thought we could perform. That was kind of it. And we were punctual. We were professional. We'd show up on time and like, we did our thing and people liked it. We
practiced. We're very like we quickly, because we became friends, we had a great stage presence very easily. I feel like I would drink too much sometimes and maybe say a little bit too much and be like, I'm part of the show too. And but I know.
But it was good. It was the banter.
Times, when I was in the right level, it was like a back and forth, and I wasn't just playing the beats, or we would have fun little things, not skits, but just.
Well, and he knew my lyrics too. So like he would double me, or there'd be like exchanges where like I say a part and like on the record, I say the whole thing. But like for the show, Bert would like do the answer part, like a call and response type thing.
Yeah.
And Bert, just really good at like the hype man of it. Like, and even on the last song, Bert would always come out and like kind of like we used to play this song called Higher all the time that Bert didn't produce, but he would always come out and like jump with the crowd and like get everyone hype, and like it was like the show just melded, and like even to like I bet Bert and I could perform, like we've done it so many times, we could probably perform several of those songs right now, and he'll know how to say the next part based off how I'm saying it, like cadence and inflection, and like sometimes we do like silly voices if it was like no one's there, or like we're just like sick of doing the same thing over and over, and Bert would just be very yin and yang and quick to respond to that. So not only talented with like the music production side that Bert was really good at, but like he was really good at like adapting to the situation. And like it's tough with rappers because I think we have big egos, anyone front and center on the stage, but he never tried to like steal the show from me, which I think like when I was younger, had Bert try to been like, this is the Bert and David show, I would have been like, all right, let's slow down. But like Bert was very good at being like, this is DavidDallaG rapping, and like I'm here to support and make it hype as fuck. Like that was what was really cool about like our live show. Obviously the album is a collaborative piece, but like for our live performance,
for sure.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, no, totally. But like you both kind of understood what you were there for and what you were there to do, and it worked, obviously,
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a fun time, man. It was really cool.
For sure. Yeah, totally. So as that kind of happened, like where did that kind of take you guys and move you towards, like after those few, like 3 to 4 years, I would say, as you described, like what did you move on to next in life or with the music?
Sure.
So the big thing for us, I think, was making the album All Sides. Dave and I had moved into a house together and built a studio in the house, and we're just able to record at home. And like Dave said, I produced probably half that album. Funk Junkie out of Missoula produced some. Amazing producer. And that was just kind of a huge cohesive project the show EP was a fun little thing where we threw songs together, but this is very intentional, very heartfelt, like lots of ups and downs, and my favorite production I had done so far. So we brought in Sapient, a mutual, we were mutual fans of him. He's from that group Sand People, and he does his own production and does his own mixing and mastering. And we had him come through after the album was done and even kind of sprinkle extra musicianship onto it, extra instrumentation.
Touch things up. He also mixed and mastered it too.
Yeah, so we let him really kind of just take it all the way to the end, to the mastering phase, but also just adding extra instruments and making everything just deeper. Because I think at this point now I'm a little bit better at doing that on my own, but at that time it was hard to comprehend how to just make a song like a song, just like with so many different dynamics. And he was able to do that with that album. And so that once we had that finished, we were like, okay, this is a big deal. We need to do something big with this. So we do a Kickstarter. We like get a bunch of people to donate money to the Kickstarter for the album. And the understanding too is that a lot of this money is going towards funding our tour for this album. And so we end up teaming up with Sapient, and we go on a big tour with him around the U.S., 23 shows in 23 days.
Yeah, all consecutive. So we didn't take one night off.
Big mistake. Yeah. But it was fun. It was fun. And again, we were young enough to where it's like, let's do this.
Yeah.
And that was our kind of, at that point, excuse me. At that point, Dave and I kind of talked about our options and where we wanted to go. And I don't know if Dave was maybe the first one to say that he was thinking about moving out to Portland, but I think we decided we just kind of both wanted to move out here, whether it was for music or not, that it was just like we've kind of like done everything we can do here. And at the time, that's all I wanted to do with music. I had dropped out of college and I was just like, this is all I'm interested in. I still want to be a musician full time. And if I'm going to do it, I should probably do it in Portland instead of Bozeman. So we did that whole tour. And the idea is like because the tour started out in the Portland, Eugene area, and we drove out with all of our stuff to Portland and dropped it off at our parents' houses, and then just went on tour for 23 days and then came back and we lived in Portland.
Into a spot.
Yeah.
In that project, All Size, like it took a long time. Like I think we spent from the
probably a year,
maybe even like a year and a half, honestly. Like from the process of like recording it, and then we made like a couple music videos for it, and then like having Sape come in and do what he did, coming up with like the promotion for it, and like the band, like Casey did a lot of bass work on it. We had the band that we were playing with at the time come in and do like a full one of the songs, like they played over the whole thing. It was like a lot of labor of love and like getting certain singers to sing on certain songs. And there was a guy I went to high school with named Troy that I wanted to sing on a couple tracks, and like getting him in a studio in Portland to send vocals to us and stuff. And like so many people put their time and effort into it, like unpaid, and just really trying to support us and like make it happen. And I think like once we put that out, like, and did the shows and moved out to Portland, honestly, I was a little burned out a little bit. I think that's kind of what just happened. We were there. I think we were trying to figure out several things at once. It was like, I also wanted to move back for a couple reasons. One, like I wanted to like help my mom a little bit. I also, this sounds kind of weird, I felt like I was looking for love a little bit. I was like trying to like find, like, I felt like I had grown out of the college age in Bozeman, and we had like done everything we could in Montana, like playing these big shows. And it was like, we got to like move on to the next thing. Like the biggest show that we probably played was the Bone Thugs and Harmony show. We opened for Bone Thugs and Harmony at the, where was that?
Is it the fairgrounds, I think?
And that was kind of like the big ending show, I feel like, even though we did like that tour and stuff, but like that show in front of so many people, like when I think back on like the top level of Bozeman shows, that's the one I kind of think of.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that's tough is like that was the level of success for us, was playing big shows. Like that was the thing. It's like, let's get on to the next bigger show. And then we played that big show, and it's like, but did anything really change? Like it was, I mean, the show was amazing, and we'd sell merch and we would make some new fans and stuff. But it's like, if we just keep doing this in Montana, I mean, it'll be great, and we can make some money and probably make some new fans, but we're still just staying in the same spot, opening for bigger artists.
I think it's like a rapper too, when like you put your own name on something and it's like your lyrics and you're writing something, like you kind of get in your own head a lot of like, I think like of, is this good? Or, reading too deep into like internet hate and stuff like that, or like comments people say or something like that, and just like kind of second guessing yourselves. And then like, that's just never good for the creative process in general, because that stuff just needs to kind of come naturally, and you should really just kind of put stuff out. I actually love like what a lot of people do now today, where it's like, it's not even so much about the song. It seems like today, it seems like people just like make like a reel or a post or like a short video of like a verse or a beat or something like that. And then if it catches, it catches. And then it doesn't even matter that it was out like in this short little video, and I kind of love that about this era, because I think it lets artists be so much more fluid. Like, I think at the time I was like, all right, once you put something out, it's out there forever and everyone will judge you off that body of work, which is why we put so much time into All Sides, at least where I was like, I really want this one to sound like perfect and something I can look back on and be super proud of. But like, maybe we should, like, looking back, like just knocking out songs and releasing them, because no one was doing that back in the day. Like, it was like people would finish projects and put them out. Now it's like you look at like La Russell, dude drops like a freestyle or something, and if it catches, all of a sudden it's a song. Like, every day that dude, like, you got to post like every day and stuff like that. And like, and so when we moved here, a little burnt out, I met who would become my fiance, wife, mother to my kids. And Bert met Erica like within like a year of us being there too. So we both kind of like got in this like romantic zone too. Definitely like in terms of like the music, I like was the one who pulled back a little bit. I feel bad about that a little bit for Bert, but I think me and Bert have been at like different levels where like, I think when we first started, I probably wanted Bert to go harder. It's just kind of funny. Then like it kind of flipped a little later. And obviously Bert, like, I mean, you've heard Port Angeles too, right? Like in the stuff he's put out, like that album.
Port Angeles with an L. Portland.
Port Angeles,
Washington.
Port Angeles, Washington. Yeah. I mean, yeah, like Bert's work is like continued to like soar, and like obviously he's just continues to crush it. And like, I still bug Bert every once in a while. I'm like, hey, let's do this. I got this. And we've actually got like a handful of tracks that like I think are pretty good, but like then the perfectionist me comes out again. And also like raising two kids and having a full-time job is a double full-time job. So it's like, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, to add to kind of the moving out to Portland thing, being like a producer rapper duo was cool, but like there's not a lot of producers and I mean DJs, yeah, more so, but not a lot of producers in Montana even now, and especially not 10 years ago. So I just felt like kind of lonely there, and I knew that there was more of like a beat scene in Portland. I didn't really know what to expect, but that was a big thing too, is like once I came here, I was like, oh, I can just be Surebert, and I don't have to have a feature on a song or be backing a DJ, that I could just be my own artist. And that's kind of what inspired me to like, I think, do a lot more work as well once I did move out here.
Yeah, for sure. Just kind of like finally deciding to, each take it in your own direction and stick with that.
Yeah, totally. And it's funny because I think I like started this being like, me and Bert work really well together and we look really good together on stage. And it's like through like all of that, like the most important thing, at least to me, maybe Bert likes my music more, but like the friendship that we developed is obviously like far surpassed all the music that we made. Like when I look back on that time, I don't think like, oh man, we should have made this song, or if only we had tried to get on that show or something. Like I think of like the good times, like in cars and hotels and like, smoking lots of weed and like kicking it and like hanging out. Like that's like the part that I remember that's like super fun,
Yeah, man.
Yeah. This is become a nice bromance podcast. Actually.
We haven't like just sat there, like we don't just sit down with each other and just reminisce on like the years. So it's now it's just like, it's like the opposite of a trauma dump. It's like a happiness dump. You know?
It's like, I love you, man. I love you from what we, still love you, dude. Oh, great. We're gonna turn the camera off and hug here pretty soon, so it's gonna be great.
No, I love it. I love it. That's awesome. And just being able to like kind of hear those Genesis stories are, I think, important for even people now who are continuing to like foster their artistry, and seeing that like it can start up in all sorts of different ways and it can end in all sorts of different ways. And you can take it to different levels, depending on what you want to do with it. A lot of people think artistry has to like, you have to just like blow up now, like if you're not blowing up and you're not like getting that one hit wonder or whatever, like that, you're not it. But like seeing that you can like slowly and gradually rise if you continue to work at it and you continue to like grind.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We even had just another thing that like was just a random viral moment. Dave posted one of our music videos on Reddit and it blew up. And it got like 150,000 views in like a couple days.
Yeah, and that was back when like Reddit was like fairly new, and so like being on the front page of Reddit, like I'll never forget. I was
people
at
in my work. Yeah, people in my work would be like, "I saw you on Reddit."
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I remember I was at work and like there was this other rapper who I was working with who like was always like kind of like a little bit hating. A little bit. And I remember like showing him my phone because like it was like it was on my YouTube page and you get an email anytime someone like comments on the video, and my phone was just like ding 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 ding, and I'm like it's just nonstop, and he's just like looking at me and he's just like, son of a bitch. Yeah.
But that wasn't like, it was a music video that we just shot out in front of my apartment, and we brought a bunch of friends. And it was just kind of like, it was an upbeat, happy song too. And it's just
produced by Bert. Yeah. Don't stop.
Yeah. But, just another moment where it was, and then, but again, it's all good, but it's just one of those things where I look back where it's like, that happened, but then, did anything come from that? Which is fine.
No,
it's just these little sparks, these little sparks happen. And it's just like, but it's also that any artist kind of needs that like feeling of validity of like, hey, people mess with my stuff, and so it is those big moments. And that's honestly, if we didn't have things like that, maybe I still would be, living in Bozeman and not pursuing music seriously, because I wouldn't have had motivation behind me that wasn't like my direct friends telling me keep doing it. I need strangers telling me to keep doing it if I actually want to keep doing it.
Yeah.
It's funny when you're growing up, what you think is success, like there will be this moment when you make it and it all makes sense, but it's the journey when you reflect that makes it all make sense.
Yeah.
Was that from something? Okay.
That's actually from Steve's wedding bars.
The way you were saying it sounded like it was on a teleprompter.
No, but I actually think that's pretty true, because it is funny, because you do think like, at the time you're like, the video goes viral, you're opening for these people, you play in the shows, and you're just like, this like something's gonna pop off from this, or like, I think a lot of artists, and I regret this too, are just like kind of waiting for like the check, or like like, not that I was necessarily waiting for money, but I was waiting for like you don't have to worry about anything else except the music. Like now this is what you do, and people recognize that. And it's not even like of course people want like attention and they want like to feel validated in their art. But like, it's what Bert's talking about, where it's like when you get these little sparks and hits, you're like, yeah. And then you're like, all right, I guess I have to go to work today still though, because this, or it's like, I guess I still have to be like, find someone to mix our music and pay because it's expensive, and like, can we afford it? And is this worth it? Where I feel like we were always like, there will be this time when someone else is booking the tour and I don't got to worry about emailing all these venues, or people will do this and I don't have to do that. Like, and still like people wait for that stuff. And it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
You
just got to do it yourself.
Yeah. But when you do look back, it is like that fun journey that we took, and like the music that we played and the people that we met, like so many cool people. Yeah.
Crazy. See, like hearing those names and stuff that like you guys opened for, and those are like some of the people like I love listening to, even like now, like Murs and um, like the Homo sapien. Like I love it, and just being able to see that and hear that like that even happened. Bone Thugs, like that's just like a really cool part of the journey.
Yeah.
Oh,
It-
super cool.
And I mean, just at least appreciate that being in a place like Bozeman that they would let someone that is from that city open for someone like that too. Because they just as easily could put a DJ up there or put nobody, and they wouldn't give a crap. But
Yeah.
they chose to put us up there, so the appreciation is important as well.
Yeah, totally. No, that's really cool to hear about that. Thank you guys for sharing that part of your lives.
Yeah.
I guess just to transition into like now, like what do you do now in life? I know a little bit, but if you care to expand.
Yeah, I mean, I still make music. I try to put out stuff every year, whether it be with artists or by myself. I try not to put too much expectations on it, but just make music when I can and put it out when I can and work with people when I'm up for it. I run a monthly producer meetup out here called Growing Beats. We did it out there for a little bit in Missoula. And just kind of, I feel like at this point, I the more people I meet, I am kind of OG-ish. Like I've had someone literally come up to me, some dude be like, "What's up, OG?" And I'm just like, "Oh my God, really?" But like, I have been like, if I think about it, it's like, yeah, I have been DJing and producing for like almost 20 years, and it's like that is pretty crazy.
That's wild.
Awesome.
So yeah, so it's like at this point, I'm just doing it at a leisurely pace and providing space and insight where I can, so it's just like if people come through to this event and can play their beats, I'll play my beats sometimes there just to fill the gaps and stuff, but I really don't make myself too like self-involved. I'm just making it a platform for people, and like that's just what I've learned is cool to me at this point is just people that I think are dope, giving them space and opportunities to show other people, because obviously, like we've talked in this podcast, that's where all of my motivation and all of our like forward momentum came from, was people giving us opportunities. So it's like, I know that works and it makes people feel good. So why not share?
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about you, David?
Yeah. So, like I said a little earlier, when I met my wife, Chelsea, we just kind of started dating, and it's so funny. I've known her for 10 years, basically after this New Year's, we'll have like our 10-year first date anniversary. But right now I traveling salesman. I sell apparel, blank apparel, which kind of just started. I was working for this other company, and they were like, "Hey, if you want to sell apparel when you're traveling," when we were touring, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to these areas anyways." And then like something just kind of clicked to me. It's like it's so much easier to sell clothing than it is to like sell myself. Like I even see all those shirts you have up there. I wonder what brand they're. But like now I work for this cool company called LAT Apparel. We sell blanks to screen printers, big box stores, brands, stuff like that. So I meet with people like doing clothing brands to, team shirts or for schools or whatever.
Yeah.
And I cover Alaska, Washington, Oregon, Northern California, Idaho, Montana. So I do a lot of traveling. And then when I'm not doing that, I literally just like full-time dad mode, like hanging out with my daughter, Birdie, hanging out with my new daughter, Phoebe, and just like trying to be as present with them as possible. And like, it's like extremely rewarding to be a father. Like, it's like the most fun thing I'm doing in my life for sure. I just love being a dad. And so like, I'm doing a lot of that. And it is funny. Like, we were talking earlier, like I have such little time. Like I get to see like one friend, like once a month is how I kind of feel about it. And even right now I feel guilty because like I look at the clock, it's like 7:20. I know that Birdie's going to be in bed at 8 and Chelsea's probably putting Phoebe to sleep right now. And like, it's such a struggle. Like, I just know the struggle she's going through, and she's so sweet to like let me do this. It's so nice. But like, I try to like give her space to do her own thing too, like make sure she has time for her friends and stuff, and like we try to do that. But like very much family mode and like trying to provide for them, and the world's expensive, so trying to make sure I can give them every opportunity I would want to have if I were a little kid,
For sure. For sure. No, that's awesome. That's amazing. Yeah. So I guess like a little bit of some closing thoughts. I usually just kind of like to ask, what advice would you give at this point in your life to younger people or people just kind of starting out, whether it be in music or in life? Just any advice that you kind of feel led to share at this point in your life with people?
You want to go first? Yeah. I would say be nice. I think be nice is a big one. And also, try to balance how much you want to live off of music versus live comfortably and be able to fund your music to a degree that maybe you wouldn't be able to if you were living off your music. So that's one thing that I've found joy in my life, being able to just be a regular working person. But then in my music career, I can do some cool, pimp level stuff just because I'm able to put aside money to do fun things for my music. So it's just like, that was one thing. I was stubborn. I wanted to live off of my music for so long. Even moving out here, that was my idea, was I want to live off my music. But I think that kind of caused me a lot of frustration. And so just kind of realizing that maybe it's not all that.
Sure. Totally.
For me, the two pieces of advice I give, one is you just like do not listen to like negative people, like, because no matter what you do, someone's going to be negative. I really wish I could go back in time and just tell myself to like cut myself a break and not be so hard on myself, or listen to like people who like didn't care about me or like what we were doing or like had our best interest at heart. Like, put out the stuff and move on. Like you said, it could be a blip. Like, if people rock with you, they'll rock with you, and they can forgive a misstep. Like, in the world we live, I always think of like, it's so funny. The information we know on artists today is wild. Like, we know like what they're doing on a Tuesday evening because someone's taking a photo and posting it online, and like their whole world can fall apart because they were at something or they accidentally said something or whatever. And it's just like, especially if you're young, it could like crush you, and if you can just recognize that there's a whole bigger world, and that the most embarrassing moment that you might think about yourself, where it was in front of a bunch of other people, I bet if you went and asked all those people, they might not even remember that happened. Like, it's just, you got to move past that and just be yourself and try to work hard. And the next thing is try to find mentors. I think like having a good mentor at anything you're trying to do, whether it's like you want to get your finances handled, like, find a financial mentor. If you want to make good music and you want to tour like this person, go find someone who is doing it and talk with them and learn from their mistakes and study what they're doing. That's kind of my big two things, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the mentor one. I think I've always had a mentor, whether close or distant, at some point in my life to like keep me going.
I still mentor Bert. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
No, for sure. I think that's like a really important aspect of just like having someone that you can come to and, bounce questions off of, bounce ideas off of, someone who's knowledgeable and who is like willing to come to the table and not like gatekeep that knowledge from you, but like they're willing to invest in you as well because, they want to.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Well, I really appreciate it, you guys. Thanks for like sitting down with me on a Thursday night and just chatting about like music and your guys' careers. And experiences in music. I think it's really awesome, and it does add a lot to like just the Montana music scene as I'm kind of getting around talking with different people and just seeing like the time and space that everyone was occupying during that point in time, you know, kind of earlier on, but now like, you know, as it's moved forward and whatnot.
Dude, thanks for getting us together. Like I said, we don't get to see each other that much, so this has actually been so awesome to like just reconnect with Bert and like chat about those times, and like, you know, it's just inspiring in its own sense. And also, I've never met you, didn't know much about you. I feel like we just followed each other on Instagram. Like, you're a cool dude. Like, I feel like this guy's got a lot going for himself. You know, like you're a very personable guy. You know, it's nice.
And I realized that we didn't shout out Shadow and the Codependents. They were a huge part of
bringing us out to
bringing
Missoula.
us to Missoula, and just putting us on like other shows, and just working with other artists outside of Bozeman.
Yeah,
totally.
Sure. I'm actually interviewing Keenan tomorrow. He's from Missoula, so I get to talk with him.
That's so funny because Keenan lives in Portland.
Oh, crazy.
What?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
When did he get out
Keenan
here?
lives out here. He's been out here for a minute.
Oh, damn.
I went to go see Sadistic and Cunnilingus with him.
Son of a bee. Tell him to holler at me. That's awesome.
Yeah, shout out to Keenan.
Yeah.
Yes, big shout out to like you guys too, just for like the contributions that you have made and like the people that you do inspire. You know, after listening to like All Sides, even like I'm like, this is an amazing project. Like, it's so full circle, and I think it's like timeless still. Even
Man, thank you.
like
Let's
what,
go.
10 years, more than 10 years
Thanks, man. Yeah.
or so.
Yep, 10 years.
It's like it still stands. Like just listening to it and like hearing like the Rude Max feature.
Ooh, Rude
He
killed
crushed
that verse.
that.
Such a good
He
verse.
crushed that.
Such a
Yeah.
good song. Such a good song.
You know what's really, I mean, just to even talk about that, I loved how he, like, I wrote my verse and sent it to him, and then he took bars from me and, like, flipped them to, like, a different, and I was like, dude, that's a really cool way to do a feature. Like, shout out Rude Max. I still love that feature. He crushed that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's so good. Still stands the test of time. So you guys killed it.
Yeah, thanks for listening to it,
Thank
man.
you.
Yeah.
Of course. Well, sweet. I think that's all I have. And yeah, I appreciate you guys a ton. Thanks for sitting down and chatting.
No, dude,
Thank
thanks
you.
for having us.
Yeah, thanks everyone for listening.